What is going on today, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today's video is ADC tier list day. The first account that I actually got to Grandmasters this split was my ADC account.
What?
So if you guys don't know, on my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/inbound, I play ranked and I have different accounts for every single role. So far, I've made it to Grandmasters with Hunter, and then I just made it to Grandmaster with Assassin. My mage account is lacking a little bit behind, and I have not touched solo or support yet. So I figured I might as well make a tier list on gods that I've been playing, gods that I think feel strong in ADC, and I've been playing the game for a really long time. I play other roles, and I see how gods play in those roles and how much they win and stuff like that. So I figured I'd just do a tier list about hunters right now to give you the perspective of where Kirktoberfest sits, which is my hunter account. And I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, so this is a shout out to Kirk Cousins. I don't know if we'll resign him. We'll see. But I'm 39-11, sitting at 2,800 MMR. My history, I've not played in 15 days on this account. I've been playing on my jungler account, but on her 4-0, AMC 3-0, Izza 3-0, Hachi 3-1. X-Ball 2-0, my match history, play a lot of stuff, testing some stuff out also. Like I built like a Death Embrace X-Ball game. So I've been testing a lot of stuff. I tried the AMC build with Claw and Soul Eater, which is my Marty build on AMC. It felt really good. But now I figure it's time we do the tier list. So that's like my value as a hunter player and why I think it brings a little bit of value to this video. Now let's just jump right in, starting with AMC, going all the way down. This is also going to be Nut. I don't know exactly where I'm going to rank Nut because she's so new to the game, but I've got my opinions. But starting with AMC, I actually think AMC is in a pretty average spot right now. He's still a very good 1v1 god. It's just the duel lane is so long that he is pretty easy to gank. But if you get a lead, you can 1v2 some fights. Your ult 2 combo does just a lot of damage to junglers or to hunters. You also have a lot of sustain with my Soul Eater Claw build, so you're always kind of topped off with health. I think he feels really good. I don't think he's OP, I don't think he's great, and I don't think he's bad. I think he's very middle of the pack character. Honor, I think Honor is one of the top 2 hunters in the game right now. Absolutely lane dominant, scales well into the late game with the Claw. I think he's got a couple weaknesses where maybe his safety late game isn't that great, but he dominates in 2v2s, he dominates in 1v1s, he gets you all these shield camps, he can play for purple buffs, and low-key, his 1 is probably one of the best hunter abilities in the game. That ability is crazy good. Apollo, I'm an Apollo hater. I think this character is so bad. I don't think he's worst hunter in the game, but I think he's pretty far down there. He's a good split pusher, which is like where his strength ends. His 1v1s feel very weak. His 2v2 feels very weak. You feel like you're almost always losing trades. Your base kit is kind of whatever. Like you have a little bit of poke in the 1. If you can play around Audacity, sometimes you can win fights. But not having any hard CC at like the range just makes it feel like a lot of 1v1s aren't really up to you unless you can just get a massive auto trade first. Even in gods like Rama, which have like the same problem with Apollo, they can at least go into the air and kind of clean up the kill if they're getting some good trades, and then you can't hit them back. Apollo's takes 10 years to get into the air and then lands, and it's easy to juke. So I think Apollo's pretty weak. Artemis, I think Artemis is the same tier as AMC. I think she kind of has like the same issues as him, where she's easier to gank. I think she does scale well into the late game like AMC does, but it's just like she never really feels that great to me. And maybe it's just because I haven't been playing enough Artemis, but at no point do you feel like I'm just going to win this game for my team. She doesn't have the dash for extra safety. So late game, even if you are super fed, if you get like blinked on by both the assassin, solo lane, or maybe even the support, feels pretty hard to live a lot of the times. But I still think she does a lot of damage. Her passive is busted. So I got to put her in at least B. Cern's at a spot where he's a very good 1v1 character, but when the game goes late, he is just one of the easiest hunters to kill. You're at a point where it's kill or be killed, kind of the same thing with Artemis and AMC. But 2 things that these gods have over him is Artemis has TC immunity and AMC has the ability to play farther back and just poke with Bluestone. Cern has to get into that 55 unit radius and actually trade out autos. And then if you're at 55 units, you're going to get blinked on. And if they're closer than that, yeah, maybe you can outtrade them, but you have no CC immunity. So if you lose beads ever, you're kind of just dead right after. He is pretty solid in laning phase. He's a good 1v1, 2v2 character. So when it goes to that later game portion that he starts feeling a little bit worse. Charybdis, don't care. I do not care what anyone else thinks about this character. She is very bad to me. She is very bad to me. She has a solid 1, 2, 3. Her passive is fine. But being a hunter that has no ultimate, and then the 3 is sometimes interruptible, like those 2 things are what stop her from being a good character, in my opinion. If we're saying, oh yeah, her 1 or 2 are really good, great. You know how many hunters have really good 1s and 2s? Honor's got a 1, 2, 3 ultimate and passive that's really good. Artemis kind of the same thing. AMC is kind of the same thing. Like having one ability that's just useless just kills the character. Flat out. She is bad. Shutterbog, I think Shutterbog will always be good in ranked. He's a global character. Is his 1v1 that good? Maybe if you can ult in and it's later into the game and he's not super far behind. His 2v2 laning phase, I mean, it's fine. His 1v1 laning phase, I mean, it's fine, but he is very hard to bully out because even if you do win a trade versus him, he just backs and ults in. But you shouldn't expect to win laning phase with Chernobog. You're scaling to the late game, and if you get to that late game portion, Chernobog is one of the best hunters you can be playing. Chiron. I think he's more of a mid laner than an ADC. I'm going to put him down by Cernanos. He's got some things going for him, but his biggest thing is he's a bluestone character that just plays better in mid. Very bad 2v2 in terms of like the damage output a lot of the times. His 1v1 is pretty bad too. Not having consistent auto attack damage around objectives is also really bad. Most positives about him are just like put him in mid. Kronos is terrible. He might be the worst character in the game. Kumba has his weaknesses, but Kumba also has his strengths. I don't think Kronos has a single strength. Split pushing, I guess. If you're a split pusher, you can play Kronos. He might split push as well as Apollo, but other than that, he's just not good. Cupid's not very good also. Ult is very underwhelming. His clear is pretty bad. His early game is fine if he's got a good matchup. Like if he's playing into Apollo, great character. He is good into Apollo. Outside of Apollo, most characters just kind of destroy him. I mean, maybe Hu Yi also, but overall, Cupid just doesn't do anything very well. Like we say, Charybdis has one bad ability and one absolutely useless ability. Cupid has 4 abilities that are all underwhelming. His 1, underwhelming. The heal on his 2, pretty underwhelming. Probably has actually his best ability, but still pretty underwhelming. His dash, very interruptible, not knock immune. It is kind of quick, but a lot of times you're just getting killed through it. And then the ult is, at best, a slow while you're getting chased or a slow as you're chasing someone else, because most of the times it's just getting beads after a half second, or it's just they're running out of it. Danza. I actually think Danza's in a pretty okay spot. The mitigation on his 3 makes him feel a lot harder to deal with instead of just auto attack reduction. He does have the weakness of, I think his laning phase is whatever. You feel like you're running out of mana a lot of times. His late game isn't that great. But I think he's just kind of good at all points, which is enough for me to put him in B tier. Freya's fine. I actually have in my stream, there was a Reju Freya that was a rejuvenating heart, the changed item that you heal your allies when you're life stealing. She was actually healing so much that it made me want to try it. I haven't gotten around to trying it yet. It also gives her a little bit more survivability. But even when I was playing an ADC before the Reju tech kind of came out, she felt fine. Hachiman, best character in the game for hunters. Every positive you can think of that you would want on a hunter, Hachi has. Auto attack stim, good late game, good early game, can farm, can 1v1, has CC immunity, has 2 dashes. His autos go longer than 55 units. Like, there's just no down. It doesn't run on a mana ever. There's just no downsides to this character. I really like the Mannequin Time build right now. Like, he might be on that cusp of top 3. I'm not going to put him into that top 3, or at least into the S tier, because these 2 characters I think are just that much better. But he is still incredibly strong in laning phase. He scales well into the late game with mannequins. Very hard to deal with. His damage is incredible. Can pull beads very well. He's also really good into this blink teleport solo lane meta or Thorns teleport meta, because all you have to do is just ult the solo laner when he's diving, and then he's gone out of the fight and you can 5v4. So Heim is very strong. Hu Yi is not very good. Okay, he's not this bad. I'll put him in this tier. He's a fine character. He just has his obvious weaknesses, and he's like a 1v1 character, but I don't even think his 1v1 currently is that great, because most of the time you're just getting bullied out and you're not going to be able to fight 1v1s because you're going to be behind. But even while behind, he does have that capability of winning because of the outplay potential with his 1-2-3. If you go late game, he does do a lot of damage to whoever he puts his 2 on, which is usually the solo lane or the support. No immunity is always a little bit of a risk, but at least he can banish himself from the game for half a second as he goes into the air, or 2 seconds when he goes into the air. So he has that strength unlike Cern, but Hu Yi, he's fine. Ishtar. B tier. Probably one of the best laning phase characters in the entire game. Is a little bit easy to kill late game because of how interruptible her dash is, but CC immunity in the ult, CC in the ult. She has good poke also with the ranged auto 1. It's just if she gets blinked on, she can be pretty easy to deal with. And kind of exactly what I just said about Ishtar, where pretty easy to dive late game, dominant early game. This kind of Izanami. Actually, I'm going to move Izanami down. Izanami's eaten a lot of nerfs over the few years. She is still a good character, but she is just reliant on getting ahead, because a behind Izanami is actually useless. A behind Ishtar at least has outplay potential with her 3, her ult. Izanami's not winning much behind. Jingwei's a pretty fine character. Not great laning phase, but fine. If she gets late game, she's one of the best hunters in the game. Not Chernobog good, but still very hard to dive, does a lot of damage. I think her biggest weakness is just a lot of times she's just kind of getting bullied out, and the other hunter's just going to be more useful in most fights. I think it's also weird having to play around your 1 and 3 stims to get a lot of value from your kit. But a Jingwei who gets ahead that is willing to dash in is very strong. I think Marty is so strong right now. I'll put him in A tier because I think these two are in a class of their own. And I think Haim is probably slightly better than him. But Claw is so good on this character. I don't know why people don't go the Claw Soul Eater build on him, because there is so much damage he does. His survivability is through the roof with it. And it's not like he ever really lacked in damage. He lacked in survivability and a little bit in damage after they nerfed him, but his damage is really good with Bluestone. It's like that level 11 to 19 where he doesn't feel that great because you don't have Bluestone yet, so you don't really have that threat. But late game, he's incredible. Early game, he's very safe. If you do fall behind, you can kind of become fodder, and his early game, I guess, isn't that great, but his clear is so safe that a lot of the times you're just fine. Medusa, she's not in my bottom tier. She's not. But she is in my Cupid, Charybdis, Apollo tier. There is just no reason to pick Medusa. The ultimate that she does, well, unfortunately, Ishtar kind of just does it better. Same with her 3. Ishtar kind of just does it better. It gives her a little bit of distance away. While Ishtar's damage and burst is not as high as Medusa's with the 1-2, she has range on the 1. She has a little bit of CC on the 2. She has clear on the 1. Like, Ishtar is just kind of Medusa, and I've never really kind of thought about it until now. Ishtar is just Medusa, but like, her kit is just season 10. Medusa's just got nothing, really. Knee sucks. This character sucks. She is so bad. I hate this character. Bad laner, bad late game, bad early game. Yes, she helps her teammates 1v1 late game, but if you're relying on one of your junglers, or unless you're playing with a jungler that you know, or a soul laner that you know that can win that fight and play around and calm with, that you're going to be ulting, there's just no use to pick this character. She's like a comp character, but even in comp, she's not good. Olo, I'm going to put Olo in C tier, like the Izanami tier, because 1, magical items are terrible right now. 2, I think Olo's kind of gotten nerfed a few times and he's pretty easy to deal with late game. But the thing that kind of keeps him in a fine spot is how just dominant his laning phase is. It is nearly impossible to beat this character in laning phase. I also think maybe there's some rejuve options there to give him a little bit of survivability, but I haven't gotten around to it, so I'm sticking him in C tier for now. Rama, A tier. Can build literally anything. Has so much safety in his kit. The prototypical, like before Hachi came out and kind of has everything, and they buffed him and they buffed him and they buffed him and they buffed him. Rama was kind of the good at everything, has everything, always a good character. He still does that. It's just only 1 dash, has the stim, has the piercing autos for laning phase, but you just compare his kit to Hachi and kind of how much more stuff Hachi has, or how much On her has to just dominate lane. I think Rama just is a little bit below that. Scotty's horrible. Horrible. I don't even want to explain it. This character does nothing. She's reliant on her dog. Her dog is useless, though. So, like, a character that is reliant on something, but that something is useless, like, what is the point of him? Bad laner, bad late game, bad mid game, bad 1v1er for the most part, except against hunters. Most of the time, just gets killed. I actually think Ability Soul is pretty good. Like, just Lifesteal, Ability Soul, Mirrodins, Bancroft, stuff like that. I think it's pretty good. I think the auto attack soul build is pretty bad, though. I'll put her in B tier because she's a good laner. She does scale okay into the late game as just like a 2 ult combo mage, but she is not a true ADC kind of. She kind of is like an ability god, like Marty and AMC, but she just doesn't have like the poke that those two have. But I still think she's good. Uller. Ooh, I actually don't know where I'm putting Uller. This is the first one that I'm kind of like stumped on. I'll put Uller in fine. Uller's a good character. Fine, good character. Bad early game and okay mid game. But if you go late game with a Bluestone 6-slotted Uller, there's very few hunters that are as painful to deal with because, well, yes, he has no CC immunity. His jump is on like a 4-second cooldown, 3-second cooldown. He gets like a 40% movement speed buff. He gets lifesteal, attack speed, and he has this capabilities of one-shotting just about anyone. And all around that, he also has poke with the 3 and bow stance. You just kind of have to get through his pretty bad early game now. X-Ball, B character. His ultimate is still insane for team fights. I think his base kit is also pretty good. He lanes fine, which is like a good thing for a more later game character. I do think actually the worst part about his kit is how long your dash is, like how long you're in that animation. Because whenever I play X-Ball, most of the times I feel safe. The only time I really don't feel safe is when I'm dashing, because you can't Aegis or beads during the dash. So that's like when it's scariest for the X-Ball. But if you go late game, a lot of times you're not using your dash to immune something. You're kind of just using it to reposition because you just want to trade autos late game with X-Ball. You get so much damage with your 1 and your passive. So X-Ball in B tier. Lastly, Nut. I think Nut is good. I'm an auto attack Nut enthusiast. I think she plays better with that. I think she is very hard to deal with if she gets ahead. She is pretty easy to kill, though, because junglers have really good matchup into her. But that's kind of the weakness of the character. I think she is so good into warriors. She has a lot of self-peel with the 2, the ultimate, the 3. Also, the 1 gives her just a lot of damage and threat. And her laning phase, I think, is really good. I'm putting her in A tier. I think she's a very good character. And that's the Hunter tier list. That's the ADC tier list. Let me know what you guys think. Is there anything that I missed on? Maybe I have a character too high, too low. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed the tier list. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.